promising practice, Linda or Katoya? What promising practice has merged?
I would say that the promising practice is the fact that we are using community-led data collection. And oftentimes, at least in academia and so we have researchers who are trained and then do the data collection, particularly qualitative data collection, focus groups, interviews. And in this case, we have used members of the community. Katoya was one of them and was the main one, actually. And that just has made a world of difference in terms of not only does she have the skill set to do the data collection, having interviews, and Katoya just has a wonderful personality on top of having the skill set of having been a teacher and a facilitator and in being a welcome space for people, as she's just said. But now she has the context, she knows the residents, so there are areas where I'm someone like me, I might need to probe because I don't understand a particular what was being said, whereas Katoria can just have a flowing conversation and get a lot of good information, and that's exactly what she did. And Erin, I don't know if you'd want to add to that, and Katoria, please share your experience as well.
Yeah, I would just add that she was requested by name by our
Yes.
advisory group of residents. So just having somebody who was trusted, who had already had a good rapport with the rest of the community members was paramount. So we didn't just close our eyes and pick a community member to be a part of it. Well suited for lots of reasons, but named as someone when we asked, like, who do you trust in the neighborhood? She was named by multiple people inside that group and out. So that was the primary reason for choosing her to lead that effort. But yeah, Kakoya, you want to talk about your experience?
Sure. It warms my heart and really puts a smile on my face to know, like I stated a little bit in the intro, my role in this community first started by being oh gosh, I don't know, maybe I started as a leasing consultant, then I moved into property management. I had like three different titles, but all within this organization. And so the fact that I could tell you that you need to pay rent and I can tell you the expectations, but you still felt trusted with me once I was no longer an employee there, but still living in the community. I think that speaks volumes. It speaks volumes for the role that I played in the organization, as well as what you all are saying to my character and to my testament to the residents. So I was very it was very great to be the facilitator. I do believe that I'm a firm believer in transferable skills. And so my background helped support the role that was needed. And I think it went very well. And it was nice to see those faces, have an open conversation about the needs and the changes and, the progress of the organization as a whole, and to just kind of informally be able to get so much from them just based first on having a relationship. It was an honor, and I'm glad to be the one that could do that for this project as well as be a voice of the community.
Just from a method standpoint,
Mhm.
just that it's so much more efficient and it's also more effective to adopt this community-led version of data collection. When you think about what a regular focus group is, a traditional approach to focus groups, we have a stranger lead a conversation among people. Before that, they try to generate a relationship out of thin air so that people will open up. Before we have this recorded conversation, we slide what looks like a contract, the consent form, and then we tell everybody, relax and be as honest as you possibly can and expect this high quality data, right? And that just feels like such an unreasonable expectation to me versus having a conversation. We didn't call it a focus group. We referred to it as a group discussion. This discussion is led by a fellow resident they already know. We had food, so it was like chatting over dinner with each other. Of course, they did provide consent, but it was oral consent. We had an infographic version of a consent form. Now, they could have the contract looking one if they wanted, but they got a plain language and visual summary of what those paragraphs of text meant, right? So we wanted everybody to feel informed, but also not to make it strangely formal with signing a contract before a recorded conversation with a stranger, right? So all of that, just those adjustments were very helpful, and we really did see the differences. So Linda did a wonderful job leading the group discussions with our resident advisory group, but the tone was just different. The need to clarify certain things when you are not in that context, it's just different. I'll use one example from one of the focus groups. There was a point at which I think somebody referenced a park or something like that. And it was out of the scope of the conversation, but it was important to that person at that moment. And so Katoya immediately clocked it. She knew what the park was, or whatever the location that was being described. There had been some trouble there. And she immediately said, like, oh, yes, I know that. I've heard of that. And then referred to, like, but that's the city's responsibility, not Grove Park Renewal. That could have taken 10 or 15 minutes with, well, what I think I'm hearing you say is, where is this park located, right? All the things that an outsider would have to do in order to get the context. So what we're talking about when we have a community member lead instead of that qualitative data collection in particular, but having a community member, there's just that contextual expertise that we don't have. So what we're saying is when we have, it's easier for us when we're thinking about technical expertise and then contextual expertise. It's easier for me as a researcher to teach you what to do than it is for you to teach me to be you, right? So facilitating a conversation, okay, sure, we can do that. Those are just like, I mean, it's not light work. Like it's a skill that you have to develop, but that's training like we would do with any entry level. Anyone can learn how to do that. Researchers, other professionals did not come out of the womb conducting focus groups, right? Everybody learned at some point. But you did, when you came out of the womb, start accumulating your lived experiences. So to ask you to download all of that in me so that I can probe properly and have a nuanced understanding is ridiculous compared to me teaching you some skills to facilitate a conversation, to get the kinds of information, to generate the kind of information that we want. So more efficient, that's going to be more efficient in the training, and it's also going to be more rigorous when we talk about precision or accuracy of results versus this obsession sometimes for people with traditional notions of methodological rigor that end up just being inflexible or unyielding. And so the irony is that your methodological rigor can interfere with the rigor, the precision or accuracy of your results, which that's the point. That's why we're doing any of this to begin with. We want high quality data. So being able to take a step back and not hoard power or not be or control whatever it is, and it's different things for different people, but being able to just recognize at any point in the process, and I mean all throughout the research process, what's more important here, contextual expertise or technical expertise, and then having whoever's the most appropriate party take the lead. I would never ask a community member like, hey, come do this structural equation modeling, we need you to do hierarchical linear modeling. Like, no, we wouldn't do, that's ridiculous, right? So it's not an overcorrection, but like recognizing when as the professional, it is best for everybody for you to take a step back because you're just not the best suited for this particular thing. So we think this approach has promise in particular because it's just more efficient and ultimately going to be more effective. And it's not radical in the implementation. It really does, for some people, require more of a radical shift in thinking, in perspective, in opening up the pool of people who are qualified to do this thing. So it's really just a mind thing. If you can get over that, get over yourself potentially, doesn't make you less important if a community member leads your data collection. Your value shouldn't be rooted in your work. You just are inherently valuable. So there's no threat, for someone else stepping up in that way. But if you can lean into that collaboration instead of like the strange power dynamic that exists in lots of like researcher or evaluator or professional and community member, like to just let the most qualified person do the job. And in many instances, it is the community member.